Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Welcome in to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. Rick is a partner of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has over 20 years experience in the financial industry, and the team at Safeguard is here to help you create your big picture blueprint. That's going to give you direction and clarity on your road to retirement. Income planning, investment planning, tax-efficient planning, healthcare, long-term care, legacy planning. There's so many moving parts. Well, what about Social Security? It's in the income part. What about Medicare? It's in the healthcare part. So a lot of moving pieces. If you want to find out more about Rick and the team, safeguardinvestment.com. They do events from time to time in different places. You can find out when and where those are. Maybe you want to sign up. Safeguardinvestment.com. A lot of great information there. And, of course, you can always call. Hey, I'm going to retire here pretty soon. I don't know if I'm on the right track. Can I even retire? Do I have enough? When can I retire? 800-700-1980. No cost to chat with Rick and the team. 800-700-1980. I'm Mark Elliott. Welcome to the program. Welcome, Rick. How are you?
Oh, real good, Mark. Thank you so much.
Well, Rick, we're going to have a topic about me. We're talking financial literacy. I just fall on the other side of that, financial illiteracy. And a lot of people do. And that's what we're going to talk about. How in the world do we know all of the things that we need to know when it comes to retirement? How do we do it ourselves? This is, the DIY network is a big deal. A lot of people want to know how to redo their kitchen, redo the bathroom, build a porch, do this, do that. I don't have any skills in that area, and I don't have a lot of skills when it comes to finances. So this will be kind of a fun show, I think. Here's the deal, Rick. Most Americans get a failing grade when it comes to retirement literacy, according to the American College of Financial Services. So there was a test, a quiz. 89% of female participants flunked a 38-question quiz. 72% of men failed the quiz. So, Rick, there's a clear gap here in scores, but the bottom line is most of us are lacking in the area of financial literacy, especially in the area of retirement. Are there topics with your 20 years experience that you find most people struggle with when you're trying to help them, plan for their retirement?
Yeah, the big topics are going to be taxes, long-term care, Social Security, pensions. I don't know if it's a problem or a challenge or whatever, but because when it comes to retirement planning, there's so many areas that need to be covered that it can be very overwhelming for people, and it can be a struggle. And like we talked about in previous shows, that the information that they read about or the information that they get on the internet is so overwhelming, and there's so much conflicting information as well. And how do they dissect this information? So that I would say is probably one of the biggest issues that causes people to not be educated, not pursue, and all the rest of it.
So researchers in this study, Rick, said that men often claim to have higher levels of knowledge and then test poorly. That makes sense. We know it all, right? We're not going to ask for directions. We know where we're going. Just be quiet. We're going to get there. I know exactly where I'm at. I'm not lost. Women's self-reported knowledge is more aligned to their actual literacy scores. So women are being more honest about what they don't know when it comes to finance. How do we get the guys on the same page and understand maybe that they also might need some retirement advice?
I think the scenario here, obviously everybody's different on why they don't do it. Sometimes it could be ego. Sometimes it just could be, procrastination. And a lot of it has to do with, and I'd wonder about this study, is age. Because, I think when we're younger, we see retirement as so far off that it's easier. I mean, we think we're going to live forever and all the rest of it. So it's so easy to put this kind of stuff off. And, as long as they're pulling a little money out of the paycheck, great, you think you're handling it. But I think as we get older and we get closer and closer and we have some life experiences and we gain a little bit of wisdom, we start realizing, hey, wait a minute, hold on. Maybe this is something I need to look at. So a lot of it has to do with age. A lot of it has to do with ego. But bottom line, it's getting the education. Obviously, we can't change people's psychology, but we certainly can at least educate them, give them some food for thought. So hopefully they can make, a decision, a decision that works best for them.
So you're saying now that when you're traveling with Shauna, your wife, you say, look, I don't know where I'm at. I'm going to stop and get directions. That's where you've come. You've come full circle now.
Yeah. Fortunately, we have, what is that, Google Maps and all
That's
that.
right. That's cheating now.
I
We can do it
cheat.
on our phone. Absolutely. Glad you're with us today for the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisor Group. We're talking about financial literacy. And here's one of the things that could really help you, I think. And all you have to do is text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. And you're going to get some retirement guides to kind of help give you an insight into some of the challenges of retirement. And then also Reed Aberdeen, a partner of Rick's at Safeguard, put together a webinar. So you've got a 30-minute webinar. You got some retirement guides. All you have to do to get it, there's no cost for this. There's no obligation. Then you have questions, you might want to call the team at Safeguard about it. But text the word toolkit for the retirement guides in the webinar, 951-667-4969. Text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. I think it'll help your financial literacy is actually what it would do. Give you some great information. You know, when you read through the findings of the study, Rick, only 12% of women feel highly knowledgeable about long-term care, and only 27% of those women have a plan to fund it, despite the fact that 50% of women expect to require some form of long-term care. So women understand that they might need it more so than the male counterpart, their male counterpart. What's going on here? How do we maybe say, hey, women, we need to look into this a little bit?
You know what? I'm so glad you asked me that question. And I'll tell you exactly what I see when I see people for the first time. And I'll ask them, hey, is long-term care planning even a concern for you? And you are correct. Most women will say, hey, you know what? It's a concern for me. I don't want to be a burden on the kids. And a lot of the males will just tell me, you know what? They can just throw me in the dumpster. I'm not worried about that at all. So when it comes to long-term care planning, I think that a lot of people just think about, when it comes to long-term care planning, they think about long-term care insurance. And of course, long-term care insurance is one way. And of course, they say, well, I know long-term care insurance is expensive, or maybe health-wise, they don't feel they could qualify. And, they're worried about putting money into it. And if down the road they don't ever use it, well, obviously, if they cancel it, they don't get the money back. And, so there's advantages and disadvantages of long-term care insurance. But the point that I want to get across is that if this is a concern of yours, and this is one area, and I want to stress, this is one area that you could have the perfect plan, you could have the comfortable retirement. God forbid you need long-term care at $8,000 to $10,000 a month. You can go through savings very quickly, and you can spend down your assets very quickly. So I want you to understand that can ruin a perfectly good retirement plan. But there are other strategies that you can use outside of just traditional long-term care insurance to address the problem. So if that is a concern of yours, you're like, hey, listen, I don't want to be a burden on the kids, or I am concerned because I've seen my mother go through it or a friend of mine go through it, and they spent down their assets and left the surviving spouse, destitute. There are strategies outside of long-term care insurance that you can implement. And there might be a variety of different techniques that can be used under your particular situation that can address your particular concerns without necessarily having to purchase traditional long-term care insurance. So very important to sit down with somebody that specializes in that. And obviously we can, if they want to call us, they can call us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions they have regarding that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. And I've said this before, my mom's 86, has just moved from unassisted living to assisted living, $3,000 a month to $9,000 a month. And there's like 15 people in her wing. Rick, would you believe 14 of those 15 are women?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the deal. There's a lot of moving parts here. Women are typically going to live 5 to 7 years longer than a man, same age. But if there's an age difference already, now you're talking about something different. So final part of this, because I think this is important. We all know, I think we'd all agree that if Grandpa is sick, Grandma's going to do everything she can to make him as comfortable as possible with no regard to, once he's gone, to what her life's going to be. She'll spend every nickel she has to make him as comfortable as she can. That's a part of really that big picture blueprint, isn't it? Making sure that the one person that does have some health issues, we're here to help and all of that, but the surviving spouse is not destitute, right?
Exactly. And that's what I was just saying earlier. I mean, that's the big thing. You won this comfortable retirement. You got your trust and will plan. You got the taxes all in line. You got, the income planning is all dialed in. And then the one thing we forgot about, long-term care planning, wipes it all away. And now the surviving spouse is in a situation, and we've seen this before, where they're like, now what do I do? All I have is the home. Do I now need to sell the home and downsize? Do I have to do a reverse mortgage just to get by? That puts them in a very stressful situation. Or do I now move in with the kids? So again, it can't hurt to sit down with somebody and see how you can set things up so that way you don't fall into that category.
So there's a lot of moving parts that Rick and the team are here to help guide you with, really. I mean, you think of a Sherpa. That's the guide that helps you get up to Mount Everest and back down. And most of the tragedies happen on the way down. Well, we've had a paycheck during our working years. Now we have to create our own if we're not fortunate enough to have a pension, with most of us are not. We don't have a pension. We have 401ks, IRAs. How do we make that last as long as we need it to? If we're married, how do we make sure that our spouse will be okay if something happens to us? There's so many moving pieces here that the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group is here to help guide you through that, give you the options that Rick was talking about for long-term care, for example. You make the decision, but you're now making a more educated decision, not a wing and a prayer. The idea is understand where you are. How do we make things better, whether it's income, investment strategies, tax-efficient strategies, the healthcare world, the estate planning. How do we make those decisions? Rick and the team can walk you through options. That would be nice to know that there are options, and there certainly are. Give the team a call if you'd like to sit down and chat with them. No time like the present, 800-700-1980. No cost for this. This is complimentary, 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. Back with more with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Don't forget, if you would like that retirement toolkit, the retirement guides, the webinar that Reed put together for you, it's a 30-minute webinar, but the retirement guides will give you some insight into retirement. All you have to do is text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. Text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. The retirement guides, the webinar, all yours, no cost, no obligation. Text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. I'm Mark Kelly. Glad you're with us today for the Big Picture Retirement Show. We're going to do a little mailbag segment. We've done some of this before. This is kind of fun because, Rick, basically your job is people ask you questions and you try to come up with some answers, right?
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So people might email Rick. They might stop in the office, have a question. They might call. They might go to an event that the team has put on, and people ask questions. And we kind of hoard all these questions, and we save them, and every once in a while we'll do a mailbag show. So here you go. First question for you, Rick, comes from James in Corona. Rick, I've been retired for about 2 years now, and so far it's been disappointing. I wasn't expecting to feel this let down about this much free time, but that's how I feel. I'm thinking about part-time work, but I also don't like the idea of locking myself into a certain number of hours or a certain schedule. Do you ever hear other people struggling with this same thing?
Yeah, it's so funny. I just had a gentleman the other day, he's a client of mine, and he told me he's just going to work as long as he can because he's like, Rick, you know what? I get X amount of vacation time each and every year. And he's like, there's only so much golf and so much fishing and so much of this, that, and the other that I can do. And then he gets bored. So even if he does end up retiring, he may work part-time. But here's the thing that I do want to stress, because in this question, this gentleman, didn't tell me if he was retiring prior to full retirement age or if he's retiring after a full retirement age. And the reason why I say that is this. If you plan on retiring, let's just say you plan on retiring at 62 prior to full retirement age, where Social Security, maybe in your case, it's 65 or 67. Well, the one thing I want you to keep in mind that if you just want to work to keep busy, you have to realize that if you have W-2 income prior to full retirement age, that can have an effect on your Social Security, and they can actually take Social Security away from you. So you have to be careful of, that you don't want to go over a certain level of income. Now, once you are full retirement age, and if you decide to have a part-time job or work or whatever, then you can make $1 million a year. They can't take Social Security away from you, but they'll tax you on it. So worst case scenario, at most 85% of your Social Security will become subject to tax. So again, I would just be cautious that if you plan on retiring prior to full retirement age, and you're going to get a job, be careful of how much money you're making. And, there's other things that you can take up, maybe take up some hobbies or other things that you feel that, still keep you busy.
Yeah,
But that would be my answer to that.
Yeah, volunteer work. There's a lot of things you can do to I think give you some purpose in retirement. That's kind of what James seems to be struggling with when he's disappointed because he's got more free time. Then find something to motivate you. And maybe it is a part-time job, but maybe it's volunteering. There's a lot of things you can do. If you want to chat with the team at Safeguard, Rick sat down with a lot of people that are kind of in your same place. 800-700-1980 is the number, 800-700-1980. Next question, Rick, comes from Shelley in Norco. Rick, the idea of a big market drop makes me really uncomfortable now that I'm within a few years of retirement. Should I, and if so, how, should I start repositioning my assets?
Excellent question. And you know what? A big market drop, if something happens, you should be very concerned, especially now that you're just a few years away from retirement. So here's what I would say to you if you're a few years away from retirement. Again, you got to have a plan. So if you sit down with somebody and you create a plan for yourself in retirement, understand, hey, listen, how much income am I going to need? What are some of my objectives and all the rest of it? What you may want to consider is this: your 401k currently, you have certain investment choices within it. So some of you out there, if you're 59 and a half or older, so let's just say you're a few years away from retirement, let's say you're 62 and you plan on retiring at 65, you do have the option of transferring a portion of that 401k or a big portion of it, whatever your situation is, to a traditional IRA and start allocating those investments in a way that's going to set you up for retirement. So that way, if there's a big market drop between now and your retirement date, you're not in a situation where you need to panic, because what you did is you prepared for it. You have everything already lined up, set up, geared for retirement. So the big example I can give you is think about those in 2007. Some people in 2007, they were heavily invested in the market. And again, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. Your 401k only gives you a limited amount of choices. And, they retired. 2008, the market corrects. Or maybe they were thinking about retiring. 2008, the market corrects. And now they're like, okay, I got to hang in here a few more years to see what's going to happen before I can actually retire. So I think sitting down with a professional, creating a game plan, and then deciding, does it make sense to maybe adjust the portfolio within the 401k, or does it make sense for us to take some of the money out of the 401k and go into a traditional IRA where we can get some more, where we can implement some different strategies that the 401k doesn't offer?
Yeah, I really think the idea that you brought up about the fact that once you typically hit the age of 59 and a half, you're not going to retire till you're 65. So that's 5.5 years of working until you retire. But you do have the opportunity. Most companies will allow you to roll some or most of that 401k into an IRA. You're not sending the check to yourself. It's going custodian to custodian, so there's no taxes. Rick and the team can help guide you with that. So, Shelley, again, that number is 800-700-1980. This could be really a big thing for a lot of people where you have a little bit more control over that cash flow. 800-700-1980. All right, next question comes from Richard in Ontario. Rick, how many life insurance policies is an acceptable amount? It's a debate in my family. I feel like my mom could be overdoing it with the number of little policies she has. Remember the old door-to-door salespeople that go, hey, here's a $1,000 life insurance policy. Here's that used to happen, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I see a lot of these people with these $1,000 policies actually are just accidental insurance. So the only way they can pay out is if there's an actual accident. If they die of natural causes, it doesn't even pay out. So, yeah, I see it all the time where some people are actually overinsured. When it comes to life insurance, it's one of those things, I think, like earlier on in our careers, when we have kids, little kids and all the rest of it, and if God forbid something happens to the breadwinner, we want to make sure that, we're not leaving the family, in the cold, so to speak. And, because we got kids that are, going to be going to college and all the rest of it. But as we get into retirement years, if we did our planning right, maybe the home is paid off. We really don't have a lot of debt. Pension and income are secure. The kids are out of the house. They're fine and dandy. And as long as we don't have an estate tax issue, really the life insurance is really not necessary. So especially if you're paying a premium every month for it. It's a situation where why not, you use that money for something else, enjoy your retirement more or whatever, because the kids don't need it. Now, if it's a situation where the kids do need it, or maybe you have a special needs situation, or you have an estate tax issue, well, then of course that can change the game. But many times with the clients that we deal with, once you've won the comfortable retirement and the kids are out of the house, the life insurance is really not needed.
So, Richard, you could always bring your mom in and talk with Rick and the team at Safeguard, 800-700-1980. Final question, just a minute and a half or two left. I'm really struggling to get organized with my finances. Now, this comes from Jane in Upland. I'm really struggling to get organized with my finances, Rick. We have money saved, but I just keep letting all this paperwork pile up. Could you help me sort through everything I have, or would I need to get it all put together before I come in and talk to you for the first time?
Actually, when you come in for the first time, you don't necessarily need to bring in a whole bunch of things. We can give you a list of things to bring in, and we don't want you to kill yourself. So a lot of the questions and things that I would be asking you would be right off the top of your head. So we make it very easy. And then if down the road, like if we decide, hey, listen, you know what, we need some additional information, then of course we can help you, gather that and let you know what we really would need and what not need. But for the first meeting, I can guarantee you that most of the information that we would need would really be off the top of your head.
So we appreciate the questions, and we understand. I mean, the working years to retirement years, accumulation phase to distribution phase, 401ks, boy, I don't have a pension. Boy, I do have a pension. Maybe I'm a little better off. I don't know. There's so many moving parts. Everybody's situation is unique to them, and that's how Rick and the team look at it. Maybe you do need life insurance. Maybe that's a key for if you pass away, you can pay the house off and help the spouse move on because you don't have a pension or something. There's a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot of worlds to think about. Rick and the team can help you in the market world, the stock market world. They can help you in the insurance world, but they have no idea what you need until you give them a call. 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. I say it all the time. I think it's one of the more important phone calls you can make. We're talking about the next 20, 30 years of your life. 800-700-1980. Rick, enjoyed it. Always a lot of great information you give us, so enjoy the rest of the weekend. You've earned it. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC.